Are you tired of the old ways of trying to recruit friends and family to your MLM? Tactics just don't work anymore. Have you wanted to quit and say the heck with this, but something still gives you that burning desire to rock this business? All you needed was the way. This is Network Freaking Marketing Radio.
Today on Network Freaking Marketing Radio, we have your TEDx coach, Mr. Frank King.
Unbelievable.
What's going on, brother? How are you?
Let's see, we had a pandemic, or have a pandemic, wildfires here in Oregon, had to evacuate for 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Earlier this year, February, I was on one of those cruise ships in the Western Pacific, came back and became an international pariah because everybody thought I came back dragging the virus.
They put you in quarantine?
No, we never were, but you couldn't tell that by reading all the news accounts. Comedian jumps quarantine. Wait a minute. We were never under quarantine. The other ship, the Diamond Princess, was ravaged. None of our 2,500 passengers or crew ever got it.
What month was this? Was this like February, you said?
Yeah, we sailed on February 1st. We were turned away from 5 countries, and then we docked on the 14th. I came home on the 15th. And every story that ran, comedian jumps quarantine. So
you caught it right there at the tail end for sure, or right when it started.
Ground zero. I mean, the reason the Diamond Princess was ravaged and we weren't, we sailed from Singapore, and Diamond Princess allowed people from mainland China on this ship. And Holland America said, no, you've been to mainland China the last 14 days, you're not getting on this ship. So that's why we never got the virus.
Were you out there for business or pleasure?
I'm a comedian. I was working. I was doing stand-up on the ship.
Golly, you have such a career. So guys, today on Network Freaking Marketing Radio, we're going to talk to Frank King. And Frank's got a unique ability. He teaches and coaches guys how to get on TEDx stages. Now, I bet you, Frank, a lot of the people that listen to this show probably don't even know what a TEDx stage is and how prestigious it can be to get on that. Why don't you bring us up to speed about exactly what it is?
Well, and don't feel bad if you don't know what it is. When I decided to go from being a funny speaker, comedian, to a speaker who's funny, I had to rebrand because everybody thought of me simply as a comedian. And my wife says, why don't you do a TEDx? And I said, what's a TEDx? Fortunately, that week I got an application via email. I said, you want to apply for this TED? I applied, I got it. And after I got it and it posted, I got 2 more off of that one. People called me and said, hey, do you have any more mental health, topics you can talk about at TEDx? And then I got 2 more and 2 more. I've done 5. 2 of the 7 that I was invited to, I couldn't make because I had a previous, corporate speaking gig. TED is a big, giant international speaking event with Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Elon Musk. 4 days, TEDx. X implies local. Pretty much every town of any size has at least one, maybe more TEDx talks. Usually a dozen people. Usually 12 to 18 minutes on stage, and it has to be an idea worth spreading. It has to be something that's gonna, you're gonna educate the audience or perhaps change the world in some small way.
That's I didn't realize that TEDx was at the local level. That's new to me because we always look for new stages in the network marketing industry to provide value and talk to people about emerging strategies, how to coach. There's so much to it, but I never knew that it was that local. So is it like, Fort Lauderdale would have its own, West Palm Beach might have its own. Is it that local? And
Eustis, Florida has its own.
Wow. Well, if anybody doesn't know what Eustis is, it's I think the population there is like 2,000 people. And if you get cell service, you're lucky. There's nothing out there. So bring us up to speed. Tell me how you got into, you have one of the most unique stories and how it pertains to business and struggles that I would say nearly 80% of Americans, and I might be off on that statistic and you can correct me, probably have gone through what you're about to tell us about.
Yeah, I've got a TEDx coaching client, and his idea worth spreading is, what if who we are isn't who we are? In other words, what if what you've been doing up to this point was really meeting other people's expectations? your mom wanted you to work at a bank. Your dad wanted you to go to medical school. And many people come to a point in their lives at 30, 40, 50 years old that, wait a minute, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not who I am. Who I am is not who I am. And I came to that juncture mid-20s. I was married to my high school sweetheart, wonderful woman, but we didn't belong together. Had nothing in common, but you know what they say, opposites attract. She was pregnant, I wasn't. And I was selling insurance, great business, but it just wasn't for me. And I was not going to open mic night at the Comedy Store. San Diego has a branch of the Comedy Store. And I realized, because I live with major depressive disorder and chronic suicidal ideation, it runs in my family, that if I didn't change something, I was going to kill myself sooner rather than later. And my second thought was, wait a minute, I can divorce my wife, quit my job, try comedy. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I can still kill myself. That's how I got into comedy. And I've met a number of entrepreneurs and entertainers who have the same basic thought process. And I'm sure some of your listeners, if they're in the network marketing field, they probably got there because whatever they were doing was not fulfilling, satisfying, really wasn't who they were. And they found something, Juice Plus, Shackley, Legal Shield, whatever, that really was a good fit for them. They could work for themselves. They could write off pretty much everything they did, including cable. And don't tell the government I write off my cable. And so I think it happens more often. That the trick is, and I'm sure some of the folks listening in your audience, you have to be brave enough to begin to make that transition. I mean, you don't do it overnight. The nice thing about speaking is that you can do it part-time as you build up your speaking business. Just as if you're in network marketing, you begin part-time and you build that up and you use whatever you're doing for somebody else for a paycheck as a life support system for your network marketing business or your speaking business until you're ready to jump. So that's, the similar business model in that speaking and network marketing, that you can do it on the side until you're ready to do it full time.
You prevail two message. You're mental health comedian and your TEDx coach. Mental health, I think isn't October Mental Health Month, or was that September? One of them was, I forget.
September has International Suicide Prevention Day.
Okay.
October is National Depression Month and something else. Yeah, it's
so it's in line with what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and then November is Men's Mental Health Month. So it's there's, I think every month is a mental issue.
So many people go through tragic events or just down on whatever. And how dark did it get for you?
Well, I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like. Spoiler alert, I didn't pull the trigger. I say that in my keynote, and you hear nervous laughter from the audience, like, should we be laughing at this? And then I tell another story about a friend of mine who was in the audience. He never heard me say I didn't pull the trigger out loud. He comes up afterwards, and I quote, "Hey, man, how come you didn't pull the trigger?" I go, "Hey, man, could you try to sound a little less disappointed?" But I didn't. And if you want to know why, it's in my first TEDx talk. I talk about why I didn't pull the trigger. So, but
go ahead.
Switching to comedy, what I believe I was supposed to be doing, saved my life, because I was going to kill myself if I had not done that. So, I mean, the nice thing about that is I had nothing to lose. Absolutely not. If I stayed put, I'd kill myself. So why not roll the dice? Why not? And there are very few things more powerful on this planet than somebody with absolutely nothing to lose.
I don't know if I've ever been personally at that point to where I have nothing to lose. And when I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of people that have gone through that and gotten to that point. Mm-hmm. But being strong enough to say, hey, I'm not going to go that way, and I'm going to do the pivot now before it's too late. Did you do that on your own cognizance, or did you have some help with that?
Well, actually, ironically, my ex-wife, we got separated back together. And the third time, she said to me, look, you want to be a comedian. I said, I'll just do open mic nights. I'll just do it locally. She goes, no, you've wanted to be a comedian since you were in 4th grade. You need to go do that. Now, I'll go move in with my folks, give you some distance, and, I can restart my life, and you can be a comedian. Then she says, but I've seen your act. You don't have what it takes. So 2 things there. One, she encouraged me to follow that dream, which was nice of her. Two, when she said you don't have your act is not good enough, that was a huge motivator. I don't know about you, but the "I'll show you" is a great. I mean, that's motivated me for decades. I'll show you.
You know what? I think anybody, and I would almost take anybody in the network marketing industry has had the family member or friend tell them you're in a pyramid scheme and you're doing this and doing that, not understanding the business model, and saying you're not going to be successful. And that's the fodder that fires people up over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, even yourself. Yeah, it's like, it's that or the fuck you attitude that we take, either one.
Yeah.
It's like both ways to go at it.
No, but I admire people who build that business. I have a number of friends in Juice Plus and that True Knot now here.
There's so many. It's a huge, it's a $200 billion industry in the States. It's crazy. The coaching side, tell us about, so you coach people to actually get on 10X stages. So you're going through, are you helping with speech development? Take me through the process of what you do with a client.
Well, let's do somebody listening today, one of your network marketing listeners. So look, Frank, I'm in network marketing and I know you can't pitch from the stage, but I've got a great story and I learned a lot of lessons along the way and I can share those with the audience because that's what the TEDx committee wants to know. What is the audience going to learn? So I would say, okay, well, here's the deal. We'll get started. I'll show you how to find the TEDx application links. And there's a couple of speed bumps they put along the way to discourage you. They don't make it easy to find the link, and there's some wording in the application that discourages people. So I alert you of that. And then I help them fill out the application. And the reason is that most TEDx committees get a couple hundred applications. So whatever you put in those first few lines, paragraphs, better be really interesting. And your title, subtitle needs to grab them and not let them go. And the description of the talk needs to be concise and sound like a really great idea. And so, as a matter of fact, the last two that I got that actually performed, the title, subtitle, and the idea got me the TEDx without an audition.
Really?
It was then that I realized that's the linchpin in the TEDx process is getting past, not getting thrown in the no pile, with the other 150 applications. The second to last one I did was Suicide, the Secret of My Success, Dead Man Talking. Suicide, Secret of My Success, counterintuitive, Dead Man Talking, a play on the movie Dead Man Walking. And it was a story I just told you about I was going to kill myself if I didn't go do comedy. The last one was mental health, mental health and the orgasm, treat your depression single-handedly. In both cases, they called up and go, no, you're not auditioning, you're going on, which is what encouraged me to get into the TEDx coaching business. Besides that, my business coach said to me, Frank, I know you're teaching people to do TEDx for free. That's got to stop.
It's true.
We often don't value what we have to offer unless somebody else goes, hey, you've got 5 TEDx talks. You were chosen 7 times. You wrote jokes for Jay Leno for 20 years. You've been doing stand-up for 34. Dude, you need to be charging for this. Okay. So if somebody has an idea, so I walk them through the application process. Then if they get the audition, it's usually a 5-minute overview and then some Q&A. We practice the 5-minute overview and then we brainstorm with the Q&A. And one of the questions is always, okay, now tell us what you're going to teach our audience. So I get them prepared with a solid list of bullet points. This is what I'm going to teach your audience. How to, able to, can do after they hear me speak. And then I help them with the 12 to 18-minute speech because you want to get as many views as possible. And so I was working yesterday with a woman, and the speech is good that she wrote, but I believe in starting with questions because it triggers a different part of the human brain. If you ask a human a question, they want to know ask them a question, what if? They want to hear the answer. So my third one is about the mental illness and the mental benefits that come with it. Because everybody I've ever met who was mentally ill, that wasn't completely dysfunctional, had some kind of extraordinary ability. 60 Minutes last Sunday night, 30 Fortune 500 companies are hiring people on the autism spectrum specifically for their mental abilities. So my TEDx starts out like this. What if those of us living with a mental illness are not living with a genetic mutation, but an amazing evolutionary adaptation? So now I got them. And I encourage so you want to make the application as intriguing, as interesting as possible, and then you want to make your talk as intriguing, interesting, make it sparkle so and then you can use the talk as a demo if you'd like to build a speaking career.
Because today, I was going to say, today, the skills that you employ are used so much more than in the past, I think. Because everybody has had to go virtual, and everything's virtual today. Yep. And I don't know if it's going to go back. And stages will come back, of course. But the virtual, we were talking before, but I think today it's a different animal. What do you think?
Yes, I believe in the meetings industry. I'm averaging a virtual keynote for a month. I have 2 this month. I think when the world returns to near normal, 90% of the conferences and conventions will return because, exhibit halls, vendors, there's a lot of money, networking.
Big business.
However, I think that, once you stretch this, once you stretch this out, it's not going to go all the way back to the way it was. And speaking of speaking and network marketing industry, if there's somebody that can hear my voice, network marketing, they have a lot of meetings. And if you are deeply involved in network marketing, you're the person that they want to hear from.
Yep.
I mean, they might hire me to come in and speak, but it's that, organizations tend to promote their own. So I would say if you have an itch to speak, and let's say you would like to be a motivational, inspirational speaker, and you're in network marketing, you have a built-in natural market. Because what you need as a speaker is you need a client that has at least an annual meeting. They use outside speakers, in this case, inside speakers. They have a budget, pay your fee, and they really need to hear what you have to say. And I think in the network marketing, it's like insurance companies, tons of meetings, dentists, tons of meetings. But so, yeah, if you're listening to me and you're thinking, oh, I could speak, well, you know what? There may be an opportunity for you there because you are already inside the castle.
A lot of people don't realize that if you crack the nut and get into the speaking industry, it is one of the highest paying fields there is.
Oh yeah, my fee is $7,500 to $15,000 for a 45-minute keynote.
And how much prep work do you usually have to do for that signature talk?
Well, I have a basic off-the-shelf talk on suicide prevention, and I just tailor it. If it's going to be dentists, they've got one set of pain points. Veterinarians, another set of pain points. Physicians, I've selected 5 groups of 5 occupations where they have a high rate, and so I'm well versed in each one. For example, dentists, a lot of stress positions, all day long trying to get the right answer. Veterinarians have easy access to barbiturates, and they're constantly putting animals down, so euthanasia is not a big deal. They end up euthanizing themselves. So each industry is a little different. Construction, male heavy, leads the league. 8 out of 10 people who die of suicide in the U.S. are men. So you have to come at it from a male perspective because guys really don't, they're not big into, talking about their emotions, getting help and so forth. So yeah, so pretty much I show up, I've got a good idea who the group is, and actually I go in a day early oftentimes and I sit through, if I was going to do a network marketing convention and talk about suicide prevention for whatever reason, they would hire me for that. I would go in a day early and I would sit through a day's worth of general sessions and soak in, the atmosphere and the energy and the ambiance and
culture.
The culture, yeah. And then I would do if there was an exhibit hall, I'd walk the exhibit hall with a gimme bag, and I'd stuff stuff in the gimme bag, that I thought was kind of odd because if you're not well versed in that industry, stuff on those tables sometimes is really strange but funny. So when I get on, and I always eat dinner with a group at like a 10 top, me and 9 people who are in the industry, and I'm listening to their stories, I'm sharing them, and I'm kind of road testing some stuff I'm going to do. So I, again, get a feel for the group so that when they call my name, I'm not coming out cold from backstage. I have no idea what's going on. I've sat through these general sessions. I may have some jokes about the general sessions. Sometimes the best stuff that I do is stuff that happened and I wrote it down. And, so yeah, I think that's where the preparation comes in. So, you have a feel for the group and they appreciate the extra effort you took to learn about them.
Do you always write your own material? Are you outsourcing anything with writer groups or?
Occasionally a comic will give me material, but I've pretty much written everything that I've ever done. Actually, there's a comic named Brett Butler, a woman,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that joke I did about opposites attract. My wife was pregnant, I wasn't. A friend of hers came to a comedy club in Atlanta, and we were just chit chatting, and he delivered that joke, and I said, "Man, that is fabulous. I'd like to buy it." He goes, "Give me 25 cents." Best money I ever spent on a joke because I use it every time I do comedy. Yeah, my wife and I should never gotten married, but you know what they say? Kill. But I wrote jokes for Leno for 20 years.
Is the joke sell? Is there a joke selling business?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is there really?
In a number of ways. There's in-house writers for the late night shows, and
Yeah,
then sometimes they contract out for other comics to email in jokes. And then morning shows, morning radio shows, you get a prep sheet and it's loaded with jokes. So you can sell jokes to the prep sheet company. And then people come to me and they say, "Look, I got a keynote." And the guy who runs Upwork, Tim Sanders,
Mm-hmm.
he had a 45, 60-minute keynote, 2 laughs. He goes, "Frank, you've got to help me. There's got to be more comedy in here somewhere." So he gave me his keynote and I punched it up and I probably quadrupled the number of funny lines. Just every now and then, something organic in the material, that sounds like he wrote it. And also, I've done a couple of business books where they came to me and said, "Look, the business book is good, but it's a little dull." So, and what I do is I read the book and then I try to write the jokes in the voice of the author so that people don't think they were just bolted on, that they can see the person who wrote it.
It's true. There's an art to, I've been taking a course currently on writing your signature speech.
Yeah.
And, really working through, especially for the network marketing industry, to really hone. I'm changing the pitch that we've worked, but we're also trying to teach to make it duplicatable. And, we're looking at about 10, 15 minutes is what we're, maybe 45 at the back end. But
Yeah.
trying to take someone through a story and the high, the low, the close. There's a lot of pieces to it that are missed. If we would teach that more in the network marketing industry, and that's like our unveiling for 2021, where we're going, our method and stuff to teach is to create the perfect script to close people. Because everybody right now is just taking the shit that comes out of these companies.
Yeah.
And they're horrible. I mean, the presentations are, I'd rather shoot myself in the head with an ice pick. I mean, they're bad. Here's a business idea for it. Get into writing speeches for the network marketing industry.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, because, you look at these stuff and it's like, God,
Yeah.
how do you sell? You can't close this. This is no way.
No.
It's just
And
not gonna.
the thing about TEDx talk or any talk, the hero's journey. Here's how I struggled. Here's what I learned. Here's what I'm going to teach you to do. That's the TED Talk formula. There's the struggle, and then I learned this, and I'm going to teach you this. And any pitch should be a good melodrama.
Yeah.
Problem, solution. And if you can move people both to near tears with the story, and then make them laugh, you move pole to pole, then you make that connection, that emotional connection. A sparkling good speech that does not move you emotionally doesn't do near as well as a mediocre speech or speaker who makes you feel something. You know the old line, they're not going to remember what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel.
Yep. I mean,
And
you
so
can
in my
blow a
TEDx
speech. You could blow the speech as long as you can close it out, right? Don't you agree?
Yes, and if you can move them emotionally.
Yeah.
I did a speech for a dentist group, and at the time, one person died by suicide every 15 minutes. So I had this idea. Instead of PowerPoint, I put a countdown clock on both screens, same clock, like a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
When I got on stage, it starts ticking down for 15 minutes. And I let it go down a few seconds, and I said, every year in the United States, 47,000 people die by suicide. That's 1 every 15 minutes. That means at this point in time, someone, somewhere in the United States, in my tribe, has less than 15 minutes to live. And the entire time I'm talking, it's counting down. And they're watching it, wondering if I'm going to let it go to 0. And so at the end, like 30 seconds ago, I said, here's the good news. When it comes to suicide, you can make a difference. You can save a life, and you can do it by doing something as simple as what we're doing right here. having a conversation, and then it gets down to about 7 seconds, and I go, before their time runs out, and the tech in the back hits it at 5 seconds, it stops. And I mean, they shot to their feet, they're clapping, they're crying. And that was a 15-minute showcase. I had a meeting planner come up and goes, Frank, I've never seen anybody make people laugh and cry in 15 minutes. But it's that, there's a theatrical element to it that I think people overlook. They got the PowerPoint, they got all the.
Oh, stuff by PowerPoint. Who gives a shit about the PowerPoints anymore? It's about, unless you got something that's remarkable, like, hey, here was my checking account when I got started, and it's $1,500 overdrawn, and now 10 years later, here's a picture, or something like that. But
yeah,
man, it's got to be relatable too.
Yes, and I think if you can be somewhat vulnerable on stage, because I think with a lot of businesses, when you hire somebody to speak, they're going to tell you about how they succeeded and how great they are. But if you can begin and be vulnerable, look, I graduated college, a couple of degrees I've never used. When I do my story, I say, in 2010, business dropped off 80% overnight, lost everything in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And that's when I learned what the barrel of my gun tasted like. And you can just see people, but it connects because it's very human, it's vulnerable. So if you can get up on stage and be yourself and be vulnerable, vulnerable can be a superpower.
Do you think the marketplace today, pre-COVID, is more competitive than it used to be?
Speaking marketplace?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, although I think a lot of folks are going to drop by the wayside due to COVID because, not being people that live on 1 or 2 virtual presentations a month. So that's why I'm focusing so much more on my TEDx coaching, because I can do it from home. Sales cycle's very short. Either, after half an hour, either you're going to do it or you're not.
Yep.
And I charge a ton of money for it. Although my deal is, here's the deal. For the money you're paying me, it's a till death do us part deal. We will work together an hour a week on Zoom, unlimited text and emails until you get a TEDx or we both die trying.
Wow. What's the investment? If the listeners are wondering right now, what is the investment if they wanted to work with you?
I thought you'd never ask. Yeah, it's $3,997.
Okay.
You pay $397 down and $300 a month. And even when the year expires and you're done paying, we continue to work together. And then, unlike a lot of TEDx coaches, along the way, I'm teaching you speaker marketing. You should have a podcast. You should guest on podcasts. You should have, you should begin to brand. You need the URL of your brand, name of your podcast, same name.
Yep.
So that when they get to TEDx and it posts, we are ready to monetize that. And people can find them. If you can't find the speaker online nowadays, chances are you're not going to get the booking.
Do you think it's important for people breaking into the industry to have like a sell kit?
Have a what?
Like a sell kit, like a Who Am I short 2-minute video and all that kind of stuff? Preloaded.
Yes, absolutely. Not only that, but
intro reel.
Yes, a sizzle reel, intro reel, and a live. If you have to be, stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself. You got a minute. You should have a minute and a 2-minute and a 3-minute. Live. My name is Frank King. I'm a mental health comedian. I teach people the signs and symptoms of depression, thoughts of suicide, what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do, and resources.
Just got it. It's so second nature now. It's just
But I think a little intro video. Staring into the camera on your website. Hi, I'm Frank King. I'm your TEDx coach. And you know what? People are asking, are they still doing TEDx? Absolutely. And here's the good news, because a lot of people don't think they're happening. The number of applications the TEDx committees get going to be a lot smaller. Your odds are better to do it right now, probably than any time in history. I'm Frank King, your TEDx coach at yourtedxcoach.com. So if you can't sell yourself as a speaker or as a network marketer, you can't sell anybody else.
It's true. Very true.
Don't you think they're buying you, Ryan? They're really buying you.
I think, yeah. I think they're buying you as the energy you bring to the table, where you're going with your business, and the strategies of how you build. I think what it is. But the products too, products is a big portion of it.
Well, you got to have a good product.
Yeah, you definitely do. If you have
I did a sales talk one time, talked about sales. And I go, y'all, you hear this. The product sells itself. Well, let it set its alarm. Let it get up in the morning and drive and go. No products sell themselves except, and I put a list on the screen: cocaine, heroin. You don't have to advertise these things. They're inherently attractive. So,
Oh, that's funny.
oh, and I'll tell you something else. If you show your human side, a woman decided, she said, Frank, do you want to know why I was willing to do a virtual coffee with you? In your promo somewhere, it says, all of my long-term clients have gotten a TEDx except one. She goes, that slice of honesty right there. The fact that you had one that you haven't been able to get a TEDx. That's why I set it up. Because I thought, he's honest.
Yep.
Most people tell you just how great they are. Everybody that works with us.
It's not. It's not realistic.
No.
Are you still working with that person today,
Yes.
trying to get them on a stage?
Yes, and she's changing careers. She's an international interpreter. She can interpret in 3 different languages, but she'd like to be a speaker, and she's making that transition in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, good for her.
And so I said to her, look, Bonnie, you've already paid me, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500, maybe 7, how many ever dollars. You're changing careers. It's the middle of a pandemic. We'll call it even, and I'll just work with you, with it. I'm fully paid. We'll just work together until you get one, because it's going to be really important for your new career. So
it's amazing to see, you talk to where different things goes. So what if you could pick any stage now at this point in your career, what is the pinnacle? What is what's the top of the tower for you?
Oh, that 4-day international TED.
The big boy? Is that?
Yeah, where they and that is the dream for a lot of people. Brene Brown did a TEDx, and TED took notice. And that's the dream, is to be plucked from obscurity and be on the big TED stage. It's rare, but it happens.
Is the TED stuff, is that Ted Turner, or is it
No, it's technology, education, design is what TED is.
Okay. I didn't know. I knew enough about it. I just didn't know enough. So I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, there's nobody named Ted.
If you could give one piece of advice out there to our audience, what would it be?
I think it's what my client said. What if who you are is not who you are?
Yeah.
The other day, Ryan, I looked back. I'm 63. And I look back, and I've been doing stand-up since the day after Christmas, full time. The day after Christmas, 1985. And I look back at all those years, and I thought, if I had not done them, first of all, I'd be dead. But let's say I survived the not making the transition. If I was looking back now, 63, thinking of those 40 years that I could have been doing stand-up and speaking, I'm not sure I could go on beyond that. Yeah, and I didn't want to look back and regret that I didn't make that leap. And by the way, I had no idea how to make a living as a comedian. I just decided I was.
That's a hard business. I mean, that's. I have friends that have worked in the comedy circuit, and I tell you, it's rough, because you're different city, three nights, shit hotels.
Yep.
I mean, what do you make a night as a comedian? $1,500 maybe?
No, comics, rank and file comics. If you're a headline, maybe make $250 a night, $500 maybe.
Wow, that's tough.
I've often said, what's the difference between a professional speaker and a comedian? About $5,000 a day plus travel.
Jesus Christ, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So Frank, we got one last segment here. We do a rapid fire questions. It's gonna be 10 questions. Just gonna have some fun and see where it goes.
Okay.
All right. Beer or wine?
Neither, actually.
Glock or Colt?
I've got a Pocket Light, 380 Pocket Light Colt.
Okay. Truck or car?
Car.
Beach or mountains?
A mountain.
Interesting. That's all I got on that one. I didn't have my set sheet with me. I usually have about 10 more questions that fire off, and I've just had that mind thing.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers or briefs. Yeah, those are the basic ones. We go through.
I'll tell you something else, Ryan, as a piece of advice. I would have some part of your life outside of what you do for a living where you can achieve something completely different that, I've always had bodybuilding on my bucket list. And I waited till I was 60 because I figured most guys had given up. And I did my first contest in 2018. And I was terrified. And I've been bodybuilding ever since. And it's because it has nothing to do with what I do but I can achieve, I can see the results, get compliments. The problem for me is I look in my clothes, you would bodybuilding, right? But I think I may write a book called Look Good Naked, because with clothes on, not much to look at, but near naked. Let me see if I can find that picture. I was training for a contest this past April, of course, didn't happen, and a true natural contest in July where they polygraph you before and urine test you afterwards to make sure that you have, you're not juicing in some way, shape, or form, or taking some kind of stimulant. And see, I've got a picture here from. As a matter of fact, this picture came from that very last cruise I did. So it's a special meaning because the cruise line's not going to have me back after I had all that. I was in the Daily Mail in London. I was in the Independent in London.
Were you really trying to jump off, or what was that? Was it just a headline?
Yeah, my contract was up. I had a couple of engagements booked the next week, and I was afraid if they didn't move as soon, that I was going to end up missing my engagement. So on my own dime, I flew myself home. There was a guy there from the CDC from America. I said, Frank, there's no reason you can't go home. They're gonna test you when you get to Seattle anyway. So go. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh wow, man, you are jacked. I would never have expected you to be that ripped.
Yeah, that's what I mean. With clothes on.
You can't tell with the jacket in. My God, dude, way to go.
Yeah. Well, and I think you should have some hobby.
You gotta stay mentally straight. You can't just do business for family all the time. You gotta
have a way to achieve that's not connected to either your network marketing or whatever your, as we say in comedy, real job.
So, Frank, I gotta hand it to you. Where do we find you at again?
At yourtedxcoach.com. And Ryan, if you go there, there's a free PDF. It's called The 6 Things You Can Do to Kill Your Chances of Landing a TEDx Talk.
Okay. So guys, jump over to Frank's site. We got him out there. I appreciate you coming on, giving us, what do we do here? 37 minutes? That's not bad. So
no, and I would guess in the network marketing sphere, there are a lot of people who face a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
And that's why they've chosen to, to work in this industry. And those struggles, people want to hear your messes and your stresses and then your successes.
Yeah, it's very true.
And there may be somebody in the listening audience who has a good TEDx story in them. And, it's a great way. It doesn't hurt on your website to have those big red letters behind you in the video.
No, and if people don't realize, if you're in any type of sales career, you want to get to a top of a resume pile very quickly.
Yeah, because otherwise, Ryan, you become a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
You need to differentiate yourself. And I tell my speakers that, look, where we're working toward is they're not looking for a suicide prevention speaker. They come looking for you.
Yeah.
When you get to that point, you're no longer a commodity. And, and that's why my fee is as it is, because I'm the mental health comedian, and I am the only one at this point. So.
Frank, I want to thank you for coming on, and, your information is valuable. Let's keep in touch and touch base. And, 6 months from now, I always like to do a little quick recap with guys. We do a recap show it's just like 10 or 15 minutes. We talk real quick, but thank you. Guys, if you like what we're talking about, head over to Frank King's website. It is the mental health, what was it again? I'm sorry.
Mental health comedian.
Mental health comedian, or your TEDx coach, right?
Yep, or yourtedxcoach.com.
So you got it. If you like what we're talking about, guys, head over to ryanpannell.com. We have some information over there for you, upper right-hand corner. Free book that'll give you some insights of some great ideas to tip and build your business. This is Ryan Pannell with Network Freaking Marketing. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Hey guys, it's Ryan here from Network Freaking Marketing Radio. If you like what we're doing, head over to iTunes and give us a like.